It would be nice if the saga between Jacob and Laban ended on a positive note, but sadly it does not. As we saw last chapter, Jacob already had wanted to return to his homeland, but Laban had convinced him to stay and continue working for him. So now, as the situation has deteriorated even further, and God has actually promised to be with Jacob as he leaves, Jacob makes up his mind to leave. But as has been his pattern, he does so in a deceptive fashion. Verse 20 of Genesis chapter 31 tells us that Jacob tricked Laban by waiting until Laban was at another location shearing his sheep, and essentially leaves in the middle of the night without telling Laban or really anyone else. Once Laban hears about what's happened, he's understandably angry and pursues Jacob, catching up with him on the 10th day. Now, the ensuing confrontation includes some accusations that sort of fly back and forth, a sort of trial regarding some missing idols, and finally, a truce complete with an oath ceremony. Yet what stands out, I think, about this text is another example, another reminder of our imperfect faith. Jacob had gotten the okay from God regarding the return to his homeland, and God had promised to be with him. Yet, when it comes to actually leaving, Jacob tricks Laban by sneaking away. His rationale for this is found in verse 31, where Jacob admits that he was afraid. Rachel, his wife, for her part, exhibits a rather shaky faith as well by stealing her father's idols. And both of these failures actually make the getaway way harder than it should have been. Now here's the thing. Jacob's approach to leaving was wrong, even sinful. Romans chapter 14 and verse 23 tells us that whatever does not proceed from faith is sin. Now this is easy, of course, to say from our perspective as we look back on Jacob. What Jacob should have done was to directly tell his father-in-law of his intentions to leave and then just return home. This would have been difficult, but it would have been in line with God's promise. Again, it's easy to apply this to Jacob, but what about us? See, in many cases, we know what we ought to do. We know what the Bible tells us is right. Yet, how often do we ignore it? Do we twist it a little bit, or even obey rather half-heartedly? Are we not often afraid as well? Afraid that we won't get what we want, or that a situation won't work out how we'd like, or that a person might not respond in the preferred manner? Fear is a powerful motivator, whether for good or bad. As the old song goes, fear is a liar. It lies to us and sort of pushes us away from acting in faith. Faith, on the other hand, calls us to stand on the promises of God, trusting that He is good and that He will be faithful to His word. So, as we're once again confronted with an example of imperfect faith, may we strive to strengthen our own faith and live it out.